Megatron. Yesterday's model, ready for the scrap heap.
We'll see who's ready for the scrap heap.
Junk. That's what you are. Junk.
Core class, Deluxe class, Voyager class, Leader class, Commander class, and now Titan class. They've done it. They've made a G1 Optimus Prime for every size class, and honestly, I can't say that bothers me much. For one, I think it's good to have the flagship character available in multiple different ways, but also because it allowed for this guy to be released at all. The Age of the Primes Titan class Star Optimus Prime. Or as I'll call him for the rest of this video, Star Convoy. And appropriately enough, in a line all about the Primes to boot. Ironic since I don't really care about the whole 13 Primes thing, but hey, whatever. This guy is the start of the Transformers team's decision to downscale the Titan class in order to make it more affordable. A decision that was a bit divisive. Many enjoy the massive size of older Titans and don't like the idea of the size class being made smaller. Personally, I don't mind it, as it does make it easier to store them, and I'm someone who greatly benefits from the price being $200 Canadian as opposed to $300, but I can completely understand why some would prefer it to stay the way it was. Of course, that's assuming he's actually priced accordingly, as from what I've seen, and by that I mean what I heard in Dr. Lockdown's review of the figure, some stores in Europe and the UK were actually charging the traditional Titan price, not the new one for Convoy here. Whether this is due to the US tariffs or stores just trying to pocket the extra money, I don't know. But regardless, it's something to look out for should you decide to pick him up. For what it's worth, Convoy has stayed the same price in Canada since he was put up for pre-order, so I think you should be good for the most part, but still, err on the side of caution with some stores. And trust me, you really want to get this guy at what he's supposed to be priced at, because spoilers, this guy is easily ending up in my top 10 figures of 2025. Why is that? Well, let's get into it and find out. This figure is one I think has a lot of expectations put onto it. Besides needing to assure skeptics that the reduced size will definitely be worth it, this is the first proper Star Convoy toy we've gotten since the original back in 1991. There were some more novelty-based toys, and of course some of you are most likely going to the comments to remind me of the Generation Selects version, but that figure was a retool of the Power of the Primes Optimus Prime back in 2019. This, to my knowledge, is the first proper update of the original toy we've gotten. So again, expectations are set to see if this truly lives up to being a modern version of the original. This is also an interesting case for me, as I actually own the original Star Convoy. Specifically, I have the 2005 reissue, which the new version bases its colors off of. And no, I haven't applied any of the stickers. Let me try putting some Toy Hacks labels on other figures first, and then we'll talk about putting stickers on this guy. When comparing the new figure's vehicle mode with the original, the first thing I noticed was that the Age of the Primes version has stretched itself out in comparison. This makes sense in order to help the proportions of the robot mode. The original had pretty small arms and long legs, which wouldn't fly for most people nowadays. Besides the benefits this gives the robot mode, the front section now flows together seamlessly. Combine that with the mean bumper and the chunky top section and guns, this space truck feels like a mobile battle station, carrying a battalion of Autobots into the fray. Which is actually a pretty accurate description, but more on that later. In terms of colors, I do wish the stripes on the sides were a bit more vibrant to stand out, but overall the colors have been done well, complemented by a bunch of mechanical detail all across the figure. The pinwheels also work quite well. There's a part of me that would have liked to see them attempt to recreate the original's motorized treads, but that probably would have ballooned the budget, and this is far more practical overall. If there was something I'd take issue with, it'd be this gap right at the top of the truck. Not great how we can see the thighs just chilling there, but given the robot mode's skirt is being used to cover them, I'm willing to let it slide. I'd rather deal with this and the skirt being cut up awkwardly to cover it. Not even the feet chilling at the top really bother me. Weird considering they're even more blatant than the thighs, but the sci-fi super robot nature of the design kinda gives it some leeway compared to the thighs clearly trying to be hidden and still being noticeable. But since we're here at the back, there is something else we can do. Remember my comment on Convoy looking like he can carry Autobots into battle? Well, if we open up the back, we'll actually find an Autobot shuttle. It'll actually be easier to get into via opening the top, And inside this shuttle is our good old friend Hot Rod. This guy, like with Convoy, is an updated version of the Micromaster figure that came with the original. They even officially referred to this as a Micromaster figure, even though it's clearly Legend scale. I kinda get it though, since this guy is nearly one-to-one that Micromaster figure, transformation at all, just upscaled with some extra articulation and sharper paint apps. He's a really nice small-scale toy and quite an improvement over the Kingdom Core class figure. But the reason Hot Rod is here is because Convoy has a base mode he can interact with. This looks really stupid, but it's an endearing kind of stupid. This isn't a mode I'll ever really use, but thankfully this doesn't affect the vehicle or robot modes. It's also extremely accurate to the original for what it's worth, and it still has some of the original features, just none of the spring-loaded ones, sadly. Ultimately, this mode is there for those who want it and does a good job at being what it needs to be, while also not compromising the two main modes that most will be using. And speaking of, overall this truck mode is fantastic. An excellent update on all grounds with nice modern flourishes and changes while still keeping the spirit of the original. For a quick size comparison, here's Star Convoy with a few other Generations figures I have lying around. As you could probably guess, he works at his best with smaller figures like the Hot Rod he comes with. In particular, he scales really well with the Micromaster figures, more on that later, but you can still display him with other size classes no problem. But now let's go to the transformation and get this guy into robot mode. Star Convoy's transformation is a pretty simple one. It follows the original toy's transformation with only minor changes to help clean the end result up. But this isn't a bad thing in the slightest. The original transformation is a good one, and if it works, why go trying to completely reinvent it? I mean, G1 Soundwave's transformation has stayed pretty much the same since the original, so I don't think it's a problem for them to do it here either. Starting with the legs, after pushing the feet up, you'll want to open up the shins to flip the front skirt back into place, then close it back up. Then you can untab the sides and simply tap them into the shins, separate the legs, and that's it, you're done. Let's now untab the rest of the gray parts, flip them around, and fold them into the back. From there, you can simply turn the waist all the way around. Now untab these sides and fold this part in, split the front cab, flip these parts up, but don't bring the arms down just yet. Instead, open the chest, bring the head out, put the sides into the chest, and close it back up. Don't worry, we'll get into this little guy in the robot mode. Now we can tab the arms into the body and adjust them into position accordingly. Finally, for the hands, you'll untab the bottom panel of the forearms, push down, and then flip it around, in the process bringing it back up. And that's the transformation. It's very simple, but very fun. This guy sits in the same spot as Earthrise Optimus Prime's transformation for me, in that it isn't the most complex, but it is pretty addictive due to its simplicity and ease. Even the size isn't really a problem. What else is there to say? This is all around a great transformation. Damn. I mentioned the super robot nature of this design before, but once you get into the robot mode, it really becomes apparent in the best possible way. You know, something I've come to notice with the original Star Convoy is how chubby he is. I'm not saying he's Energon Optimus Prime levels of dad bod, but he does sort of have a bit of a gut. With our new Convoy though, that mass has been redistributed into the arms, getting rid of the tiny ones the original had, and greatly improving the overall proportions. The gold crest adorning his chest is great, and can we talk about this amazing head sculpt? I love this head sculpt. I'm a sucker for the long head fins on Optimus Primes. Reminds me of the Studio Ox design, which is not a bad thing. Honestly, there isn't much else to say in terms of looks. All of the positives that the truck mode had has carried over here, with none of the negatives. So let's move on into accessories, of which we get quite a bit. Going back to his chest, as we saw during the transformation, Convoy is carrying the Zodiac, the artifact that resurrected him in the first place. You can take it out if you really want to, but there isn't much else you can do with it, so I just leave it in there. We have two different guns, one that doubles as the turret Hot Rod uses in base mode, and the standard blaster meant for Convoy. Weirdly small handle on this one. It stays secure just fine, but it strains how short it is. There's also a bullet you can put into the blaster. Not really sure what the point of this being a separate piece is, but okay, sure. And of course, these guys are blast effect compatible. The main gun has one unique to it, and you get two of the standard blast effects for both the other gun and the cans on his shoulders for maximum firepower. Finally, there's these blast effects, which you can use with the guns, but are actually meant to be used with this matrix thingy to make a flame sword. Not the most incredible looking thing, but it works well enough, and I can't really be upset about more blast effects. And I can't be upset with the articulation either. It's standard generation stuff, so dynamic poses will be no problem, and he'll be able to keep those poses thanks to the heavy spring-loaded ratchet joints. Really, there's only two things here I would consider flaws in this mode. First is the monoskirt. I didn't like it on Armada Optimus, and I don't like it here, though I do understand why it was done this way given the transformation. Still, I wish they could have been able to split it like with other figures. Second, the head is just on a swivel joint. You can use the transformation joint to have him look down, and it's not like he's going to be looking up at anything much to begin with, but I think a ball joint or even a swivel hinge system would have worked a lot better. But even so, these problems aren't enough to really dent the overall quality in the slightest. I mean, sure, it would have been nice to have a ball-jointed head, but it not being here isn't a major detriment in the slightest. I can say the same thing about the hands as well. Would have been cool if they had the same articulation as SS-86 Optimus and Megatron, but it isn't really a detriment that they don't. All in all, we've got a truly amazing robot mode. It succeeds at what it's trying to do and rounds out this release as a great modernization of the original 1991 toy. At a whopping 38 centimeters tall, Star Convoy is quite a large figure, though still smaller than previous Titans. He isn't even the tallest figure I own, that being the recent X-Men 97 Sentinel. But I still think this is quite a good size for him, especially since he's clearly meant to work with Legends and Micromaster figures. In particular, after doing some quick research, I discovered that Star Convoy is canonically 45 meters tall in robot mode, which means that while a bit bigger than he actually is supposed to be, this figure can actually fit into the 1/44 scale. So besides the official small scale figures and Dr. Wu's G1 stuff, he actually scales very well with your high grade Gundams too. Now, if we could only get a Godzilla in this scale. Although, considering how much Bandai already charges for the Monster Arts line, maybe it's better that we haven't gotten it just yet. As I said previously, Age of the Prime Star Convoy is a great modernization of the original toy. The vehicle mode is great, the transformation is great, the robot mode is great, even the base mode, for as much as I don't care about it, captures the original extremely well. At $200 Canadian, this guy is more than worth the cost. If you haven't gotten him yet, I'd suggest getting him when you can. But with all that being said, we're at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I hope you all had a happy new year. I'm going to be posting my top 10 figures of 2025 video this Saturday, so if you're interested, stay tuned for that. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you all later.